Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your coffee, your tea, your water, sit back, and let's talk about astrology, human design, the election, whatever it is that we feel like talking about this morning. If you are just tuning in to all of the news this morning, you know that we woke up in a different political state, perhaps we could say, this morning. And it's pretty fascinating when you look at what's happening up in the sky, the stars, and you see how it reflected here on the planet. And so let's just, take a moment to breathe and let's just sort of get organized around what it is this new world, this new United States means for us right now. Good morning, Lynn Goldberg. Good morning, Vanita. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Mimi. It's good to see you ladies here this morning. And I'm looking forward. Good morning, Colleen. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you all this morning. So we have a bit to talk about. Today's the new moon. So we are not only opening up to a new political landscape, but we are also faced with the new potential from a new moon in Scorpio, with several planets sitting at 29 degrees, which is just an ending and ripe and ready to begin something new. And it's so reflected to us, right, with the election, the way it turned out last night. Now, I'm sure not everybody got what they wanted. I mean, I would have loved to have seen the Senate overturned as well. I would love to have seen every governor's race be exactly, the Democrats winning them, because I happen to like that idea, the ideals that they were standing for. But, in a real world, we have to have balance. And so we have to have, the checks and balances between things that make our system actually work. And I know sometimes it also acts as a slowing feature, but sometimes that's a good thing, right? We don't want to jump into things in a way that would be horrible. So my phone just informed me that it is 8:02 a.m. on the West Coast, and that means we are now sitting at the new moon. So welcome to the new moon. Good morning, Key. Good morning, Stephanie. Good morning, Suzanne. And Michelle, good morning to you as well. So here's how I'm going to kind of run today's show. First, a little politics, just because it's kind of fun. And then I want to talk about the new moon and what we can expect from that and the planetary changes that are occurring. And then I am going to do a couple of readings this morning. I already have one chart ready for you, Vanita. I'll take maybe two more. So if you're struggling with something or you really need some help or guidance, let me know, and I will in the chat here, and I will, and when we're ready to do readings, start pulling up charts. I've actually already pulled up Vanita's, so I'll just need two more people. Good morning, Laura. Good to see you, and good morning, Holly, and everyone else who is joining us. So here is, I just want to share with you the new face of our Congress. And then I want to talk to you about a couple of different stats, and that's as far as I'm going politically. So the new face of Congress is that there are now 95, possibly as close to 100. It depends on some races we're really close to call. So 95 women elected to Congress. Now, on the surface, that seems so awesome, right? 95 women out of, or 95 seats went to women, but there are 435 seats. So women are roughly making up 21.8% of Congress right now. But women, my friends, make up 51% of the population in the United States. So 51% of those seats should be sitting by women. And because it's representation of the population, right? So we have this preponderance of male dynamics in the Congress where a population is skewed toward the feminine. In order to get 51% of the seats, we would need 222 seats in Congress should be held by women, statistically, right? Just statistics. So women, we got to step up. Right? We got to step up, and we've got to start moving more and more fully engaged into the political landscape. I think we've sat back too long and allowed the male energy to dominate the conversation and the politics of this nation. And when you look at that, that's a rather startling statistic, don't you think? Like 95 women out of 435 seats available is only 21.8. So just almost 22%. Yet 222 of those seats ideally should be by women because of the face of the population in this country. It's crazy, right? So we have these new women. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez from New York. She is the first Latina and the youngest congresswoman to be elected. She was 29 years old in October. Deb Haaland from New Mexico, a Native American woman elected to Congress. Debbie Murkacel Powell from Florida, the first Ecuador immigrant to be elected to Congress. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, first Muslim women elected to Congress, one from Michigan and the other from Minnesota. Sharice Davids, the Native American plus the first LGBT woman of color in Congress. Amazing. From Kansas, of all places. Abby Finkenauer, 29 years old from Iowa. She turned 29 last December. And Ayanna Pressley, the first Black congresswoman from Massachusetts. Welcome to these women who represent the tapestry of women, of people that are in this country. Congratulations to Jared Polis, the first openly gay governor who was elected in Colorado. To the first woman governor of Guam, Lou Leon Guerrero, to Veronica Escobar and Sylvie Garcia, who were the first two Latina congresswomen elected in Texas. We are making progress. Progress has occurred. And, you know, the landscape is still probably going to be poised with some divisiveness. I can't imagine that disappears or dissipates overnight. I'm not so sure that that's exactly what we wanted out of this election. I mean, I think I might have wanted that, but I'm not sure that we will have that yet for a while. But it's hopeful. And that's what I love. It's hopeful that we are able to see major changes occurring on the landscape here in this country. So Debbie says, considering everyone's choices, and yes, we all have different opinions, it was an improvement. Absolutely. Good morning, Michelle Brooks. And Suzanne Huzzah. And Kay says, beautiful. I think we have some really interesting things ahead of us. Here's my hope. You know, we all have power in some respects, and I'm already hearing about all this stuff about the Democrats, you know, getting prepared to try to take down the president and you know, do all these investigations, etc. Well, I would say there is one thing that Congress should be focusing on first, and that is about ethics. That is validated by the planets and the degrees they're sitting at right now. The 29th degree is a karmic degree. And if they hold true to ethics, then that means that they're not only calling out the people that they, you know, see as other, but they're also holding themselves to the highest of integrity, right? It can't be just one way. We can't just direct it outward. That would be hypocritical, right? So I'm hoping that this is the beginning of a new transparency, perhaps. Certainly Jupiter's move tomorrow into Sagittarius supports that. This idea of ethics and integrity and living from truth. How about that for once? Living from truth. What a concept. Instead of living from lies and living from people who are always trying to deceive us, who are putting up, you know, every roadblock they can to us finding out the truth. And I'm hoping that's what they focus on, and the other things that are of importance to our country, not just, you know, the things that we want to do to get payback on Republicans, let's say, or people that we felt like were I feel like sometimes we get into this idea of justice, but maybe justice might be well served in just what happened with the election and not necessarily having to drag everybody through the mud. We just don't need that. We've had enough of that. So let's pray for a new horizon, for new possibilities, for hope and for optimism to return. And yeah, there is some work to be done, and let's get busy doing it, right? And women, it's time for you all to step up some more. If you're out there and you've had inklings in the past, throw your hat in the arena, right? It's amazing to me that 222 of those seats in Congress should be held by women, and literally only 95. It's amazing when you think of it, when you break it down that way. All right, so let's look at the new moon. That's the possibility here. Mimi says, yes, truth and ethics are vastly important. Yes, in addition, some rather horrific representatives are going away. Indeed, I think there's a lot of interesting things, that we could debate about what happened with this election. But I think when you look at the sky, when you when you look at the planets, we were ripe for change. And there's probably more change on the horizon, but not necessarily the kind that we can, pinpoint that will happen. The most powerful planet in all of this at this new moon is the planet Uranus. And the planet Uranus is at the 29th degree. Actually, let's see, where is Uranus this morning? It is at 29 degrees, 55 minutes of the sign of Aries. So it is now sitting just at that anaretic degree. We call it an anaretic degree because I'm going to give you a new word. It's a degree of fate. It is a degree that we call karmic, and it is called anaretic. And I started to look up the word anaretic to find out what it technically meant. When I looked it up, it was only related to astrology. So the 29th degree is called the anaretic degree. And we think of the 29th degree as the reaping of the rewards, because I don't always think of karma as comeuppance. It can often be reward as well. Karma works both ways. And it's basically the reaping of what you have sown, right? So if you've sown all good things and you've done, your due diligence, then karma rewards. And if you've not done what was requested or what was required, then you end up seeing the error of your ways and you pay the price that way. Consequences. It's all about consequences. So today we have Uranus at that degree, we have Jupiter at that degree, and we have the north and the south nodes at that degree. Fascinating, right? In the aftermath of an election, and literally these bodies were already lined up at this degree last night. And so the change is amazing that has occurred. And I don't know that we know the depth yet to which that may affect us all in the coming months. So Uranus at the 29th degree, the awakener, is awaking us back up to Aries types of qualities. Aries qualities are bold, are about new initiatives, about starting something new, about moving forward, revolution. And of course, Uranus is about rebellion. So we have revolution and rebellion. I kind of see we had a bit of that going on last night, at least here in the United States. And I think that we're going to see some more of that as Uranus is going to sit at this degree for a few weeks, and then will stay in the sign of Aries until March of 2019. So that's what's still 5 months away. So Uranus will still be in Aries for a while yet and kicking up the dust, right? Making sure that we have truly set our course on a new path and that we will move forward down that path. Jupiter is at the 29th degree today of Scorpio. And interesting that we have the moon in Scorpio and we have Jupiter ending her Scorpio. So we have new moon in Scorpio, opening to new ideas of what are we passionate about? And can we live from that passion instead of always getting caught up in all of the underworld stuff? Can we live from what's our passion? It is a bit it favors a bit of trimming things down to distilling them down to their most distinguished qualities. When I was describing Jupiter having moved through Scorpio, I used, what did I say? Something like cutting out the fluff. And indeed, that's exactly what was going on through that entire year. We were, breaking things down to their most important parts. And we were doing that collectively, but we were also doing this on an internal or a personal level. And what that means for us is at this point, if you look back over the course of the year, you're probably seeing that you've let go of some things. And if you haven't let go of them, this new moon is the best time for you to do that. What can you let go of now in order to move forward? If you look back over the year, what wasn't working? That's the best place to look. If you look over the last year, What in your life wasn't working? What was it like beating your head up against a brick wall every time you tried to do it? It didn't work. That is like your harbinger, right? That's telling you what it is that you must release or in some way remake or reform or, reevaluate how it is that you're doing that work in the world. So, just to use a couple of examples where there's a couple of listeners out here who've been trying to find jobs, and the more they interview, the more often they get turned down. I have to ask the question, is that maybe the universe giving you a message that maybe that isn't the work that you're meant to be doing? Right? In my own case, I keep beating down the door trying to get readings for people, and it isn't working. So I've been looking, thinking, and reevaluating all about that, right? What about readings isn't working, right? What do people really want? And so the course of this whole year has been about that for me. So likewise, in each one of your worlds, something like that has been happening. And what can you see? Today's a great day to consider that. Maybe just sit in meditation for a moment and take a look at that. Ask that question. What is it I'm letting go of in order to be able to move forward? I hope that makes sense for people. Let's see. People are saying, Kristen, good morning to you, sweetie. Michelle, it's opposing my Uranus. And yesterday I got a nasty letter from my father telling me my mother died. I read that, sweetheart. And oh God, if I could hug you and give you a big, I would in person, because that's horrible and it's ugly. And I just hope you did not take any of that personally, right? That is the scorpion sting, right? When you least expect it, coming out of the dark, the scorpion stings. And it's a pretty ugly situation, but you don't have to take it on. You know your truth, right? You know the truth. And your mom, who's now passed on, also knows the truth. That is the truth in the bigger way, right? She doesn't know what the little truths are necessarily, but she is now a part of the bigger truth. So I'm glad you didn't take it personally, Michelle. Good for you. Let's see. Colleen says, my business is so successful, but I don't feel aligned with it. Huge, huge thing, Colleen, right? So what about it is that what about your business aren't you aligned with? And how can you bring it into alignment or bring yourself into alignment with it? Deeper dive, right? So there's a lot of things for us to look at. Juiciness. So the new moon is at 15 degrees of Scorpio. And that means a new moon is where the sun and the moon are in a conjunction because they're sitting at the same degree. Now, literally, this means the sun, which represents your consciousness, and the moon, which represents the unconscious. So the conscious mind and the unconscious mind married in this moment. So it is a great window, a gateway, a portal, whatever word you want to use, for you to be able to see what comes next. You just have to ask the question. This is how we end up with the ability to be able to set intentions at a new moon, because we have those two in alignment. And the alignment in Scorpio says, follow your passions, right? Let go of what isn't working. And to be able to follow your passion, you may have to let go of some things, some beliefs, some ickiness, old tapes running in your mind. And what is that for everybody? So we're in the need to be able to look at that. Involved in this moon is also Neptune, and Neptune adds an element of spirit to it. That tells me, if there was no other indication, I would say we have to go internal to get to what it is that we're next steps for the external, right? The internal helping us to align with what comes next in the external. And as I say that, I don't want anybody out there who is a generator or a manifesting generator to take that to mean you just go out there willy-nilly and start acting on all the impulses that are coming up from within, because your type tells you, your strategy for your type tells you wait until there's something in your outer world to respond to. And you, my friendly projectors, wait for invitations. Even if your inner voice is telling you this is what's next, you're waiting for the invitation to engage that. Manifestors, you're taking action on those ideas. You're starting the ball rolling. And reflectors, you're waiting for an additional 28 days of the moon cycle to get clarity. And all the while, you're asking people, talking to people, and seeing what they're reflecting back to you. All right. So lots of good stuff here, people. So the other planet, the North Node, South Node, here I think was the biggest tell, and we did talk about this last week with the nodes shifting out of Leo and Aquarius and into Cancer and Capricorn, is two big changes on the horizon, at least for the next 18 months. One is remember what was it last week, the week before I woke up and the word conservatism was in my head? And I started looking at what that means and why it is that even though I'm a fairly conservative individual, resourcefulness is one of my key hallmarks. I like to reuse and repurpose and all of that, but I had an issue with conservatism. And so I looked that up and discovered that in politics, it has this religious edge to it that I am in, that I'm against, or that I'm in, what is the word I'm thinking of? Resistance to. But ideally, conservatism itself just says, hey, we work with what we have, we stay within our means, we cut the fluff, right? We cut the things out that we don't need. Where are we wasting our money? Where are we bleeding our energy? And how can we make things trimmer and be more economical, etc., right? Using things to their fullest instead of throwing things away or putting it on the shelf, and starting something completely new that we didn't need to spend the money on. So it's not just about the religious right who wants you to become their religion and believe the way they believe. There's some really cool concepts involved in that conservative idea. That is the Capricorn South Node, remembering the things from the past, the wisdom of the past that we can bring forward now and use, right? When you think about your parents and your grandparents, they always had sayings, right? Things that, in our minds as kids or when we were young adults felt like just so many words. But when you get older and you look back, you go, wow, that was wise. That was wisdom. That was truth. And those are the kinds of things that we want to remember now with the South Node in Capricorn. But the new piece that is entering this conversation as we move forward is the nurturing piece, the kind and gentle piece, the part where we are a family piece and not just residents of a country, right? We're the family of United States citizens. And if we looked at that as a family, then we would have a different conversation. And that's what's available for us. That is the direction we are moving. I don't know if you guys got to listen to Marianne Williamson's talk last night, but I was really excited by some of the things she was saying. And she often says the same thing, that government needs to be run like a family. Families run on budgets. Families don't get to just borrow from the Fed and go way over their budget to live, right? They have to live within their means. Families are a unit that take care of one another, ideally. I mean, some families aren't that way. So we have a lot of possibility in being able to rework the dynamic of how we care for one another in this country. But it also works for you on an individual level, right? Where are you bleeding energy? Where are you bleeding money? And where are you not taking care of and nurturing first yourself? Right? First yourself, but then also your family, your community, your tribe, because these are the conversations that we need to be having, right? And becoming very activated around that idea. So we have some really fun times ahead. We have some scary times ahead, as I alluded to, in terms of what comes up in 2019. And but it's all interesting, and I think we have Mimi, I want to talk to you about that in a second. So we all have some part to play here, and I want you all to play it. Play full out. Play with your full deck, right? Play with all you have according to your role to play and according to your part, according to your specific path. Okay. So Debbie, not Debbie. Love you, Debbie. I didn't mean that. Mimi, the parable of stone soup comes to mind. And there's something I'm not remembering the details of it. Maybe you could tell us more about the parable of stone soup in the chat there this morning. Good morning, Linda. Colleen says, LOL, I do act willy silly a lot. You know, there's nothing wrong with willy silly, but let me tell you something about these 29th gosh darn degrees that these planets are sitting at. When you have those 29th degrees in your birth charts, they tend to create havoc in terms of decision making because you are kind of perched at the end of a sign. I want you to think about that. You're perched at the end of a sign, looking backwards over all of the degrees of the sign. So you have at your fingertips all the wisdom of that sign. And so what happens is then it makes it difficult to make decisions because you have so many thoughts going through your head. You have so many ideas, so many possibilities, and you kind of often feel like you're sitting at this crossroads, right? Am I going to use the wisdom from the sign previous, or am I going to move forward into the new sign? What am I to do? The problem with the 29th degree is you come to a decision, and then the next day when it's time to actually make that decision or, come land fully into it, you go off and make some other crazy decision. And it can be a real problem, right? So the 29th degree is sometimes a real problem. We set out to do something. We set out to use the wisdom that we've gleaned. And then in the last possible second, we throw some kind of wrench out there and do something completely different. And then later we find out we have to go backwards in time. We have to rework the plan and we start all over again. So I caution everybody right now not to throw out the baby with the bathwater. It's not a good time to do that. Not with 3-4 pieces of the pie sitting at 29 degrees. So don't throw over everything. Look at what remains of what we have and how can we use that to its fullest and marry that with something that's potential from the future or, new ideas and bring it into, marry them together and make a new whole. It's kind of fun that way when you think about it, right? We don't have to destroy everything from the past. We can just take what we've learned, what's worked in the past. Our common values are something that can anchor us from, the good things that we can bring with us from the past to the present. Colleen says, so many thoughts and crossroads, then being crazy is my brain. Yes, I bet you have 29th degrees laying around. Diana, good morning to you. I'm here. I also had unfinished business when my mom died. She hated me and had many people against me. It was only after she died that we were healed. Wow. So many, tragedies and things like that, but it makes us stronger. That's we're not here to be punished. We're here to be made stronger and to evolve and change and grow. Kathy Miller, good morning. Janet, Joanne, Cheerios, coffee, and my morning fix of love. I love it, Kathy. I love you, Kathy. You're so fun. If you guys don't know, Kathy Miller is my stepmom, if you will. She was married to my father after my father had left my mother, although there's a space of like 9 or 10 years engaged. And we have just recently reconnected, and she's just a joy to have in my life. And an interesting, she is like the 29th degree, right? She's the glue that binds our past to our present. It's amazing. So Kathy, you occupy a very interesting place in my life. So I'm waiting for Mimi to bring us up the parable of stone soup, and maybe I'll look that up in a minute. Oh, here she says something along the lines of a hungry man began to make soup with stones and water. In time, others who had ingredients to create a soup gave things such as carrots, potatoes, and more to make a fine meal that fed everyone in need. I think that's awesome. And there was a story I remember the kids reading when they were younger called Stregonona. And Stregonona was a witch, I believe, from the old world. And she did the same thing. And people would just come and donate, something to the soup. And then they all shared of this magnificent soup because everybody brought something and all were able to partake. I love that. Good morning, Natasha. So being the observer, it was interesting the time that you coughed when you were talking about the Y in the road. Is that a truth for you? No, I think it's more like I just am talking too much on a throat that is not happy with me today. But who knows? Cindy, I so understand that, Diana. I'm in the same with my own mom, who has not yet died, but is very ill and has told many horrible stories. So I am waiting for the healing for that. And Stephanie, good morning. Oh my gosh, we love Stregonona. Yep, that's great. Okay, so lovely stuff going on, such potential. I feel more optimism. And of course, if we feel more optimism, Jupiter is getting ready to leave Scorpio and go into the sign that it rules, which is Sagittarius. That'll happen tomorrow. And just in time tomorrow, remember, we are going to have Lynn Goldberg joining us this in the morning. She is the one that has been giving us insight into the 64 faces of wisdom, the deck, the oracle deck based on the gene keys, and sharing with us the beautiful pictures and the beautiful words coming from that oracle deck. So I'll be interviewing her here, yes, tomorrow morning. Oh my Lord. And she will be sharing with us the various oracle decks that she uses. So I'm excited for that. Tomorrow is also the day that Jupiter, of course, makes that move. So if you're feeling optimistic of a future, there is a reason, right? There is a reason. Now, I want to turn to doing some readings for people. I did not go back through all these comments. Let me see here. Did anybody jump out and say, I want a reading? I didn't okay, Kristen, I'm just checking real quick, guys, so bear with me for a moment. Okay, so I don't see anybody else asking for a reading. However, if that is because you just joined us recently and didn't know, then please feel free to let me know that you want a reading. So Vanita, are you out there? Vanita, I saw you at one point here, so I know you were there in the beginning. So Debbie says me. So Vanita, tell me a little bit in the chat, if you will, what it is that you're struggling with, because I've pulled both of your charts. I have your astrology chart and I have your human design chart because I wanted to refresh my memory. And I know yesterday that you shared that you felt like you were kind of unclear about maybe what to do, where to go, what was up. So can you kind of put that in the chat for me, Vanita, while I read what Lynn has put here? She picked a card for us this morning. The card is for us gift 2, which is the gift of orientation. The shadow is dislocation, and the siddhi is unity. And remember, gate 2 is where the sun, not the sun, the earth is sitting this week. So it's interesting, right? Isn't that right? I do believe. Yes, I am correct. So isn't that awesome, right? So the gift of orientation, the siddhi of unity, so bringing people together. When you look into my eyes, allow me to remind you of the deepest truth, that we are all one. You and I may look different from each other, but deep down we are the same. Careless about what others think of you, care less about what others think of you, and more about how you are a natural part of the whole. Open yourself up to a path of synchronicity as you surrender into my eyes. Don't think too much. Allow the certainty that is within me, that we are all connected in a single unity, that all things happen in the exact right timing, to reassure you that there is no way for you to be outside of the stream of life. It is simply not possible. I love it. That's awesome, Lynn. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so let's take a look here. Vanita. Sorry, driving a friend to the airport shuttle. Okay, so yes, let's just take a look, Vanita, since I don't really have an exact idea of what's going on for you, but I want to take a look at what's going on with Chiron in your chart, because Chiron right now is sitting backwards, having retrograded back into the sign of Pisces, where again, we are all dealing with victim energy. Right? We're dealing again with having to learn how to have faith and trust. Faith and trust, faith and trust. And Chiron happens to be sitting on top of your Jupiter and close to your natal sun. Let's see, Chiron today sitting at 28 degrees of Pisces and still in retrograde. Your Jupiter sits at 25 degrees. So it says that in order to grow, to move forward, you're going to have to see with bigger eyes. You're going to have to elevate to a higher level of perception. And in order to move forward, you're going to have to change what you are perceiving. That is the huge lesson here for you, because this is retrograde, right? So there's an internal shift that has to happen within you, about what is going on in your self-talk. What is it that you're holding yourself to that isn't true for you anymore? And in a very real way, the path to healing is when you get outside of yourself and you kind of look at, what have you been thinking about? What has your focus been on? Are you focusing on what you don't have? Are you focusing on how confused you are? Are you focusing on feeling lost, where she says feeling lost in general? What was that? Need to find. Anita, need to find the right kind of help with a big project, money, career, still looking for romance, right? Well, change your perception. That's where all of this begins for you. And you're going to have to learn about faith, and you're also going to have to let go of being a victim. We all do. So I'm not picking on you specifically, Vanita, but I can see it's very powerful in your chart. You have a Jupiter Sun conjunction. You are here to grow and expand. This lifetime should be large. And that means high highs and low lows, and all the points in between are being hit. You are also a bit of a hermit in your life, and at times you withdraw and you pull back, and at other times you go back outward in your world. So that if you can liken this to breath, right? You breathe in and you breathe out. That's what your life is like, right? And there's stillness in the breath in, and there's action in the breath out. And it means that you have to find a balance to the time where you're hidden and, back in the background and, hermiting, if you will. And another time when you're out, because your opportunities in your life come from your networks of friends, the people that you know, right? Your jobs come from family or friends of friends or friends of family. Your opportunities for romance come from that same place. Your opportunities for everything literally in your life come from the being out in the world. In your human design, you have split definition with an open identity center kind of in between the split, which means that you need people. You need people around you. And that means that in order to get where you want to go in your life, you're going to have to find yourself outward in the world. And it doesn't mean you have to always be engaged with people either. It's not like you have to go to social functions. You could literally just go out to Starbucks and sit there and have a coffee or a tea, and people, just the energy of the people there in the atmosphere could help you get clarity. And on the other hand, you may want to find yourself in positions where you're around people of light, where you're around people that can help you. That might mean a church or a gathering of like-minded individuals. I know that you've in the past done karate and belly dancing and things like that. Those people are part of your network, and they're part of the people that are here to support you. So be around like-minded people that will help you heal that or work with that split that's going on within you personally. Let's see, what else can I see here for you? Let's just talk about the new moon very quickly for you. The new moon in Scorpio is right on top of your natal Neptune, thus confusion, thus indecision, thus all of that fog that you can't see where you go, what you need to do. This too shall pass, right? I'm guessing within a month, maybe less, you will get some clarity. And the best way I'm going to tell you right now to get clarity, Vanita, is to get spiritual, get into meditation, get into nature, get any place where you can be grounded, feet on the ground, and into a meditative space. You have a defined ajna in your human design. So for you, lying down to meditate may be much better than sitting up. Sometimes the energy of meditation for people with a defined ajna is difficult because the mind is always on. It is always running. And if you are sitting up, of course, then you're in alignment with all of those thoughts. If you lie down, then it's a little more diffuse and less thoughts are making it through, and maybe you can meditate easier. I know someone with an open ajna falls asleep if they're meditating that way, but sometimes the defined ajna like you have, Vanita, does better if they are lying down. So that gives you some guidance there. Um, you come already to the planet with a moon conjunct Neptune. You're psychic, my girl. You have possible intuition that is like through the roof. Follow that. But you remember that you're a generator, so you have to make decisions only by what shows up in your outer world, right? What shows up in your outer world, and then waiting to see if your emotional self is on board with that. If it is, then great, take action. If not, then you wait. You're waiting for clarity. It is a waiting game that you're playing. And I know it's not easy because I have to play that same dang waiting game. And it always is, it's kind of raw and irritating, but waiting is what's called for here for you. You will get clarity, just not maybe today. But today, what you can do is get aligned with your intuition. Remember how meditation can help you, prayer can help you, putting your feet firmly on the ground, go sit under a tree, go sit in a Starbucks, do things like that that can help you out. I hope that helps. All right. So let's see who else wanted a reading. Wow, faith and trust. Ugh, wish I could hear you better. Stream still freezing. I will listen again later. Okay, listen again later, Vanita. And tomorrow, if you have questions, you can bring them and we'll talk about it then. Okay. Who's next? Let's see. Gail. Wow, faith and trust today is huge. Absolutely. Linda, 7 years since the last life I knew ended. Just now healing from this. What is next? I feel in limbo with my life. I can understand that. Suzanne shared something about angel number 2. I'm going to ask you guys to read that. I'm just looking for who wants a reading and whose information I have. Diana and Linda both want readings. So let's see if Diana, do I have you in my program? If not, I'm going to need your birth information. So let's see here. Oops, that isn't going to work. Diana. There we go. Diana, I do not. I may have done. Let me get your human design chart up, Diana, because I know pretty sure I did that one. And we'll talk about that. There you are. Oh, you have a lot of openness in your chart, sweetie. So tell me, what is up with you, Diana Ballgard? What can I help you with? Let me print this, and then I can always get the information I need from that for a regular chart if I need it. So let me go back to my video here and be live. There we are. Okay, so Diana, what would you like help with, hun? Do you have big decisions to make? Are you having relationship issues? I need help here. What would you like me to look at? So you could type it into the chat there for me while I'm waiting for your chart to come out. And in the meantime, let me see, Linda, I have your chart, I'm pretty sure. And let's see, Dennis. Oh, you're not in this one. Okay, so let me go back because I know where you are. If you're not there, I know where you are. My computer's being slow this morning too. What is probably because I'm live streaming at the same time I'm trying to do work. So let's see, Diana, did you pop in and tell me what you need? No, you did not. Okay, so Diana, I am just going to take a look at your human design chart since I have that in front of me and tell you what I see there. You are a generator. And like Vanita, you are also a hermit opportunist. So there's something interesting in human design that we see for everyone, and that is something called a conundrum. And a conundrum is sort of like this energy that is seemingly pulling you in two opposite directions, where, I see it often in astrology charts as well, where there's this transit that says go and do this, but then this other one that says no, be cautious, don't do anything, right? Where we are meant to come to the middle somehow, to somehow solve the conundrum. And the way to solve the conundrum then is to follow, in human design, we would say, follow your type and your strategy and your authority, because it's what is your decision-making tool, right? So in this case, your profile, the 2-4 hermit opportunist, is what is your main conundrum. I mean, it just jumps right out, right? And for Vanita, this is sort of the same thing for you as well, where you feel pulled in these two opposite directions. One is toward the hermit side, which wants to be quiet and alone and, you know, in solitude, and the other part of you which says you're not going to get your opportunities unless you go out in the world, unless you engage with friends and family and organizations and clubs and things like that, social events. So for you, Diana, it's very powerful because the right angle cross of penetration, which just words, but really is about you needing to be out in the world and also to be in your own inner world. So you have to learn to give time for both elements within you. So often what happens, you know, you're home, quiet, you know, reserved, doing, you know, in solitude, maybe reading a good book, doing the things that you love to do, but the phone keeps ringing, right? People want you to come out. They want you to come and do something. Or a part of you is like, oh gosh, I need to go and do something. So you're not quite ever comfortable in the solitude because you're being called out. And then when you're out, and you're out in the world, you're like, oh God, I can't wait to be able to get back home and put my pajamas back on and get that good book to read. And so you're constantly having to move between those two extremes, but always having to give focus and energy to both, right? That's the conundrum. That's the same conundrum for you, Vanita, is the difference between solitude and opportunistic, right? Being out in the world. And I didn't make up those words, by the way. Someone else did. So, I mean, hermit, opportunist. Opportunist does not ever sound very good. It just means that you're the kind of person that needs to get out amongst people because that is where you're going to get invited in or have things to respond to, right? I sent your human design chart to you, Linda. Check your junk mail. I don't know why it does that, because you reach out to me and ask for a chart. I send you the chart and then it goes to your junk mail. Irks me every time. So check your junk mail. And if you had, I think yours was a hoot mail or something like that. So it may have put it directly in the junk because it didn't recognize me. It's more judicious in what emails it lets through. Also, for people who are requesting charts, this is just an offhanded comment here, is that I often get these requests and you've done a key stroke error or something, and I don't get all the information. And sometimes it comes back and it says Hotmail, and then I send it to Hotmail and you really meant Gmail. Sometimes I get it with a city and no state, so I don't know where you were born or any country. So sometimes I have to play sleuth and detective, and I'm hoping and praying sometimes that a city that I'm seeing isn't repeated many places throughout the world, because I'm guessing my best. So please, if you're requesting a chart, make sure you have all of the information there. And, you know, like, for example, Linda, yours said Hootmail, I think, but it's spelled it Hootmail. So I'm thinking you meant Hotmail. I'm not sure. So make sure I had the right email address for you. In the meantime, Linda, let's see if Diana has said anything else to me about what she was looking for. Nope. So Linda, let's go to your chart and see if I can pull you up here. And there you are. She's just had a birthday in October. So happy belated birthday to you, Linda. And let's see what her chart says. And Linda, give me a little hint about what it is that you want, or if there's something specific you want me to look at. And I will be happy to do that. In the meantime, let's just see where some of the Scorpio energies are in your life and where the Sagittarius Jupiter is headed. So, Linda, has a lot of planets in Virgo and Libra. So for the most part, the more intense energies of your life have been passed through. So you've worked through, with the exception of a couple of things going on in Pisces, Neptune, and Chiron, triggering some of the energies that you have going on in Virgo, which is the third house of the mind, of being able to communicate, to say what you want to say, maybe even having some unclarity sort of about what's going on in your mind. So relax, just enjoy, your mind's pursuits, and say whatever it is that needs to be said. But what's more interesting going on for you is that the moon and sun conjunction, the new moon today in Scorpio, is on top of your Venus. And it is in the fifth house of children, of play, of joy. This gives you a new route into playfulness, and possibly even, I don't know how things are going with your family right now, but maybe some more interaction with the kids or grandkids in your life. Let's see if she has answered me. Um, Linda, let's see. What else did you say about what you were looking for, sweetheart? 7 years. What is next? I feel I'm in limbo with my life. I think limbo with your life is going to last for a little bit longer. And I think it's not about punishment. It's about getting clarity about what comes next. And maybe what comes next is just retirement, Linda, right? Just about having fun, just about enjoying life every day as it comes up, right? In 1944 was your birth year. So, I think you're done with the building of something. I think maybe it's time to focus on what makes you happy, right? What is joyful for you, and what one thing that brings up is creative energy, childlike energy, being around children, and just having fun. So whatever it is you want to do it, right? Don't unless it's something huge like starting a new business. I would, I would more or less just say, have fun, do what makes you feel good. I think that's what's really clear here in your chart, is that it's time for you to really do that. And oops, that is not your chart. This one is. And I wanted to say that Jupiter for you is still in your fifth house, and it is bringing you opportunities to be able to connect more and more with that. But about January or so of this year, Jupiter is going to move out of the fifth house and into the sixth house, where it is about the health of your body. So I want you to make sure you're doing everything you can to support your health. And I know you've always been really good with vitamins and supplements and doing things like that, but sometimes things slip through the cracks. We fall, right? This is like maybe, I know you've had issues with ankles and things before with your shoulders or your arms or your wrists, I think it was. So take care, right? Be very present everywhere you go. Be present and in your body, so that falls and things like that don't become another, thing. This, energy goes back 12 years, which takes to 2006, 2007. And if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in there, you did take a fall and hurt yourself pretty badly. I think it was shoulder related, maybe. So take care, Linda, right? Have fun, play, don't take unnecessary risks, and enjoy your life, right? Do what feels good to you. Who else would like a reading here? Vanita, Gail, Linda, I saw somebody else here. I could feel one. Suzanne would like one. So Suzanne, let me get back to my other program. How's everybody doing out there? Good, I hope. Leave that profile. Now, Suzanne recently had a human design reading. So Suzanne, unless you have questions about your human design, I'm actually going to pull up your astrology chart, if that's okay with you. If it's not, tell me in the chat what you're looking for so I can be sure to talk about that. There she is. Okay. And let's look at her transit chart. Okay, let me go back to my screen here. So Suzanne, what would you like help with? Paid readings are definitely more in-depth, Colleen. Good morning, Shauna. Suzanne, yes, please. Okay, give me more info because now I don't remember what the question was, but I did pull up your astrology chart. So let's look at that and find out what's going on. I'll take in the moon and I'll take in Jupiter. And then you can tell me while I'm looking at the chart, you can write in if there's something more specific you want me to look at. So let's see, aligning her chart, we have the sign of Jupiter, or excuse me, the sign of Gemini on the rise. And that puts Scorpio in your 6th house and puts Sagittarius in your 7th house. So this is interesting because the planet Jupiter has been sitting on your natal Neptune in the 6th house. Have you been sick or have you had health issues lately? Direction is what she needs help with. You're welcome, Linda. So direction, let's look for direction. So the first thing that pops out at me is not that. The first thing that pops out at me for you is that you are sitting with a number of planets in your 6th house, which is the house of work, service, and health. So it covers the things that we do, the work that we do. So the 10th house rules the profession. So it is the worldly self. It is how people view you in the world. So for example, people view me in the world as an astrologer, right? That's my career, my profession. But the actual work I do with people is represented in my 6th house. So same thing for you. This is about you getting clarity about work. What kind of work do I do? How do I show up in the world? So when I look at your 10th house, your 10th house is in the sign of Aquarius, which is where Mars is, which is where the shadow, the Black Moon Lilith is transiting. So there is some unclarity here. And the unclarity is coming because maybe you're trying to fit yourself into a world that you really don't belong in, right? Maybe you're trying to, what is that saying? You're trying to be the, you're the square peg, but you're trying to fit into the round hole. And it doesn't work, right? So the more you're trying to push yourself to conform, to be like everybody else wants you to be, the more it blows up on you. So instead, your route, your path, the way the world sees you is different, is unique, is eccentric. And walking that path is what you're meant to do. Now, the work that you do then is in the 6th house. And right now that is highly energized by the new moon, by Jupiter's last day in that sign. And it says, get clear on what it is. It looks like maybe, you're definitely meant for more of the psychic world. Like you give us these beautiful angel readings and things like that. You are a very informative person. You have a Gemini rising sign. Gemini is an informer. They are the connectors, right? They connect the dots. I used to think of myself as a Gemini like the hub of a wheel. So, you've got the center and then the spokes go out. So we've got the outer ring, you've got the hub. Geminis and Gemini energy plays the hub role very well. And from that, we can connect people to information, to other people, right? So that's what you are. Now, how can you parlay that into something that makes you money or helps you make a living from? Or is it just something that you do as an avocation that feels really good and it's fun and exciting for you to do that? You do it with us. You have all of these different Facebook pages, right? And I know you focus a lot of time on those, right? Those pages and how you interact with people. How can you build upon that? How can you take what you naturally do so well and move it into more of a business? Maybe that could be something you're thinking about. Remember to stay centered in this new moon, right? This is what has fallen away from you this year, because what's fallen away has left what, or revealed to you what is left, and that's the next step, right? I hope that's clear. I'm making sense, but not, it's so hard to do readings this way. It was funny when I used to do this on the radio. It felt different. Doing it like this makes me really want to be able to see your face and to really be able to see your face and interact with you on that level. So this is difficult. Suzanne says, I have been thinking about a business. Well, if you're thinking about a business, Suzanne, then it must be first follow your type and your strategy. And I didn't end up pulling your, but I do have your human design chart handy, even because I was just looking at it the other day. You are a generator. That means you do not make decisions from inner world dynamics. You wait until there's something in your outer world to respond to. And guess what? I'm in your outer world. I just gave you a whole host of things that you might be able to respond to. And from there, you are also emotionally defined. So you wait for emotional clarity. Does this feel good? Does this feel correct? Does this make me happy? Right? Never asking yourself open-ended questions, but only questions that end in or yes, I want that. No, I don't. And asking yourself that several times before you finally land on the decision. Okay. You also have that open identity center. So you're probably fairly good at counseling, guiding, coaching, leading people, right? Because you know people. Your open identity center means that you don't always know yourself, but you know people, right? You know what's going on with others around you. Using that in a powerful way is something that you could be doing, right? Knowing people. You knew, for example, that people might want to know what the number 2 means after Lynn gave us the second gene key as the card she pulled. So you're really good of that at that. I question those answers of yes or no. Stop it. Stop that. Don't question. If you are following your type and your strategy and you are getting an to something that you've been, considering doing, follow it. It is only your open head and ajna that cause you to stop. That's your conditioning. You were conditioned to think. You're conditioned to analyze. That is not the truth for you, however, right? You're not an analyzer. You're not someone here to think through things. Now, you can think all you'd like, right? Thinking isn't wrong. It's just you cannot make your decisions from thinking, right? So if you get a body, listen. If you get a body, listen to that too, right? Especially if it is aligned with your emotional body. It's your emotions that really drive you into saying and doing what's correct for you. Falling to that, defaulting to that is what you need to be doing. All right. So I think I did look at Jupiter. Jupiter, by the way, is going to cross over into your 7th house, and it's going to put focus in growing relationships. The 7th house is typically marriage or our business partnerships where we're close. So one pathway I can see for you growing is through partnershiping, right? Maybe other women that you are aligned with and you form a partnership. But again, Jupiter sometimes can overdo things. So you're going to follow your type and strategy. If that opportunity shows up, you're going to note that it's in your outer world and it's an opportunity for you. But then you're going to wait for your emotional clarity before you say yes. Do not say yes too soon. You do have that gate 29 defined, and that likes to say yes. It's the gate of committing yourself to death. Saying yes to everything is not the right way to go, contrary to some things people say. I used to have a friend that said she only liked to be around people who said yes to everything. Well, for a good majority of people out there, that isn't the truth. You can't say yes to everything. Saying yes to everything might get you into trouble. And indeed, it got me into trouble many times, right? Because I would want to commit to something and then I was only half-heartedly engaged in it. So you have to be careful, Suzanne, that what you do get engaged in, what you do say yes in, has a very connection, an emotional connection for you, that it feels good. Because otherwise you're only half-heartedly committed to it, and then that drags the energy down of the entire project. Okay. All right. You're welcome, sweetie. Let's see, we're already at 9 o'clock. God, I wish I could do readings for everybody all day long. And I can't, but maybe I can take it up again on Friday. Tomorrow we have a guest. But on Friday, we'll be looking ahead at the weekend. And if there's no major big things going on, I will again be able to take up readings. And I noted that Holly would like a reading. Shauna would like a reading. There was somebody else that was in my face that Kristen. So I'm going to write your names down. So Kristen, Holly, and I don't think I've done readings for you three. So that's a good thing. It'll be new. Kristen, Holly, and Shauna. So we'll take that back up on Friday. If you ladies can't join me on Friday, then let me know that. And next time I'll put you in. Maybe I'll start doing these like once a week. I like that. I like doing readings like this. All right, everybody. That's it for me today. It's already after 9. I am this close to finishing up my Energy Almanac project. Then I can get back to the work that I want to do next, my next steps. So that's what's on my agenda today, is to finish that up. Cindy, you and I will be chatting later, and I'm looking forward to that. And everybody, please have a wonderful day. Enjoy the new beginnings. Follow your type and strategy into that. And I will see you all tomorrow morning. Mwah! Much love to all of you. Bye for now.